Hey you guys, don't make the same mistakes in your personal statement that I did, okay? In this video, I'm going to read you my whole personal statement, and throughout the video, I'll share the feedback and suggestions Shannon gave me. For example, we'll talk about whether or not you should use your personal statement to explain why you have less than ideal grades, and much, much more. That way, you can learn from what I could have done better. Thanks for watching, and if you find this valuable, remember to like and subscribe. Okay, here's my personal statement. A 3-year-old boy has severe sinusitis that has caused the eyelids of his right eye to swell and his fever to spike. His mother is beginning to worry because every specialist she has visited has not been able to alleviate her child's symptoms. It has been 3 days and she is at another hospital waiting to see yet another specialist. While the mother is sitting in the waiting room, a passing doctor takes notice of her son and exclaims to her, "I can help this boy." After a brief examination, the doctor informs the mother that her son has an infected sinus. The boy's sinus is drained and he is given antibiotics to treat the infection. The mother breathes a sigh of relief, for son's symptoms are finally mitigated. I was the sick child in that story. That is one of my earliest memories. It was from the time when I lived in Ukraine.
In my introductory paragraph, I told the story in the third person. Shannon said this isn't necessarily wrong, but most stories work better when they're told in first person. So for example, if I were to rewrite this in the first person, I might say something like, "When I was 3 years old, I suffered from severe sinusitis that made my right eyelid swell and spiked my fever. My mother was starting to worry because none of the specialists we saw were able to alleviate my symptoms." Telling the story in first person draws the reader in and makes it feel engaging rather than unnecessarily distant and impersonal. Okay, picking back up where we left off.
I was the sick child in that story. That is one of my earliest memories. It was from the time when I lived in Ukraine. I still wonder how such a simple diagnosis was overlooked by several physicians. Perhaps it was an example of the inadequate training healthcare professionals received in post-Cold War Ukraine. The reason I still remember that encounter is the pain and discomfort of having my sinus drained. I was conscious during the procedure, and my mother had to restrain me while the doctor drained my sinus. I remember that having my sinus drained was so excruciating that I told the doctor, "When I grow up, I will become a doctor so I can do this to you." When I reminisce about that experience, I still tell myself that I would like to work in healthcare, but my intentions are no longer vengeful. When you're writing your personal statement, it's important to think about what's going to make you stand out to the admissions committee. In this case, my experience living in post-Cold War Ukraine is something that sets me apart from other applicants. Shannon thought the part about how I told the doctor, "When I grow up, I will become a doctor, so I can do this to you," was cute and endearing, but she did caution that other people might be wary about the vengeful intent, even though it's from a child's perspective. She suggested I could rewrite it with an emphasis on empathy rather than vengeance. So, for example, I could say, "Having my sinuses drained was excruciating. After being in such severe pain, I told the doctor, 'When I grow up, I will become a doctor so I can do this to you.'" It was a child's way of expressing my suffering. However, when I recall that experience now, I understand it differently. That moment of excruciating pain taught me a lot about what patients endure, and it sparked my desire to work in healthcare. I'm excited about becoming a PA because I want to do everything in my power to alleviate others' suffering. Now, let's get back to the essay. After researching various healthcare professions, I realized that physician assistant is the one for me. I have several reasons for pursuing a career as a PA. Firstly, the PA profession has a bright future. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment for physician assistants is projected to grow 38% from 2012 to 2022. Secondly, the flexibility of the PA profession is appealing to me. I would like to build an eclectic repertoire of experiences and skills when it comes to delivering medical care. Thirdly, I would be able to work autonomously and collaboratively with a healthcare team to diagnose and treat individuals. The fourth and most important reason is that I would be able to directly influence people in a positive way. Working for home care services, I have had several people tell me that they prefer PAs over physicians because physician assistants are able to take their time to effectively communicate with their patients.
For this paragraph, Shannon mentioned that as a general rule, it's not a good idea to list things in your personal statement. When you list things, you're usually telling people what you want them to know instead of showing them, and it's not very effective. It turns out I shouldn't waste my word count by citing statistics. Shannon helped me realize that even though I listed my honest, well-considered reasons for wanting to be a PA, the admissions committee doesn't really care about these practical considerations. They want to know about me as a person and how my experiences will make me a great provider. Okay, here's the last paragraph. I know that to become a physician assistant, academic excellence is imperative, so I would like to take the time to explain the discrepancies in my transcript. During my freshman and sophomore year, my grades were not great, and there is no excuse for that. In my first 2 years of college, I was more concerned with socializing than I was with academia. I chose to spend most of my time going to parties, and because of it, my grades suffered. Although I had a lot of fun, I came to the realization the fun would not last forever. I knew that to fulfill my dream of working in healthcare, I would have to change my ways. Starting with my junior year, I made school my priority, and my grades improved markedly. My grades in the second 2 years of my college career are a reflection of me as an engaged student. I will continue striving to achieve my terminal goal of becoming a physician assistant, because I look forward to the first time a worried mother comes to the hospital with her sick child, and I will be able to say, I can help this boy.
For this last paragraph, Shannon liked how I tied everything together by repeating the sentence the doctor said at the beginning of the essay. I can help this boy. However, she had some qualms about how I explained my less than ideal GPA. Admittedly, I said there was no excuse for that, but then I went on and gave an excuse anyway. I was partying. Since I mentioned there was an upward trend in my GPA, she suggested I let my transcript speak for itself because it already indicates that the issue with my grades is resolved.